Assalamu alaikum. Today we are here with another board game review of Shards of Infinity, Shadows of Salvation, which is an expansion pack for Shards of Infinity, the deck building game. Now, if you're not familiar with Shards of Infinity, then you can check the link in the description below for the review of the Shards of Infinity deck building game, which is a competitive 2 to 4 player deck building game, small form factor card battling game for 2 to 4 players. And just to understand the mechanism, because I will not be going through the mechanisms of the game in this review. Instead, I'll be just explaining that what comes in the expansion of the game. So if you are more interested or first want to understand how the game works, check the link in the description below for Shards of Infinity. Coming to just the Shadows of Salvation, this is a co-op expansion pack for this competitive game. Even though the default game is competitive, this one is going to add scenarios to the game which you can play cooperatively and trying to beat a boss battle rather than each other, for which this battle book comes into play. Now, this battle book is actually going to present a story, and the story is going to actually give you around 6 boss fights. So each boss is going to have, of course, a picture of the boss as well as some special abilities they are going to have, along with a story that how actually you reach up to them. But story is kind of okay, nothing special, but it's the boss battles that you are here for, or turning this existing good game into a co-op game. And if that interests you, then of course this is an expansion that you should not be missing. Hero Realms as well as Star Realms did similar kind of thing as well, where they went into boss battles. So the third player, what you can say, is kind of being controlled by another deck of cards. Other than that, the game is also going to come with another character that you can start playing with. This character is Rez. He has some special abilities as well and some specific cards that will get shuffled into your main deck as well. By default, you can play this character in your regular competitive games as well, just like normal if you want. But playing with this character is important for the story, because this is one of the characters that does get introduced in the story itself. Other than this, the other component that the game comes with, it now comes with another dial which is going to track the health of the big boss that you are going to battle, as well as its mastery. So as I said, that it's no different than any other character. It just becomes a third character which has a deck of its own. It's not going to buy anything from the main market deck. It will come with its own deck. When talking about deck, how is the deck formed? This game is going to come with some different factions of these black cards are going to be for the boss, and there are some factions that are going to come with the game. So the battle book is actually going to give you an explanation, or at least the symbols, that whichever boss you're going to fight, it is going to tell that, okay, if you're fighting this boss, mix these 2 factions along with it. So how you will set up is, you will look at your enemy faction cards, take those faction cards out which are related to your boss, take them out, as well as it comes with a deck of all the different bosses, the 6 bosses that come in this one. Again, they will have a pile of those cards that are related to only that specific boss. They will be added to this deck, and then you will shuffle them up. So once you have, for example, in this case, I have prepared this deck where I have the System Shock, the Mind Hacker boss, as well as its minions or factions added, and then I'll shuffle them up. This is going to become the deck which is going to control the boss. Each turn, the players are going to reveal 1 card each for each of the players. So for example, if there are two players, they are going to reveal one card for each of them, and whatever are the text on them, so they will have different kind of minions attacking us. There will be some boss specific cards which are going to increase their mastery or perform different kind of attacks. Each of the bosses have unique mechanisms. I'm not going to reveal them here because again, because the game has been set up like a story, so there needs to be kind of a reveal, and you find new mechanisms on how they fight. And that's the real twist of the game. The mechanisms of the boss vary from each boss fight. So it's not just a simple plain deck of card. Each boss fights separately. Even though the minions or factions that you get to add are very simplistic, they will have an attack value, they will have a defense value, plus some maybe special text on the cards which will let you lose some cards, have additional attacks based on the mastery of the main boss. Things like that are going to be there, but they're still more simple. The variety comes from the boss cards themselves, and each of the boss are unique. They attack in a different way, and they will be kind of memorable for you, that okay, how this boss attacks. For example, one of the bosses leaves poison seeds in your deck. So whenever their card will come out, they will say add one of those dead poison seed cards in your discard pile. And so next time you shuffle, one of the cards might be just a poison seed, and it's clogging down your deck, not only damaging you, but also your hand of cards available for that round will be lower down as well. So things like that, different mechanisms are going to get introduced with each of the bosses. Each player is going to get one card. Your gameplay is going to remain same, but instead of fighting each other, this time the players will be pooling their resources, pooling their attacks to fight the minions as well as the big boss. The minions work just like champions for us, for the players, that champions used to stay and don't get discarded at the end of the round. So they are there for protection from round to round. Same applies to the enemy champions as well, or minions, that they remain from round to round and they attack each turn. So you're always incentivized to first take them out. Or if you have good health, maybe you have invested a lot in healing abilities, maybe you want to take the damage and go after the big baddie himself, because the more time that you give the bad guy in this one, the difficulty is going to increase, because as compared to other games like Hero Realms, here the boss is going to keep increasing their mastery on these tiles as well. And as their mastery increases, the attack they can do is going to increase, because as you can see here, the with their mastery, the level of attack is going to increase. So the more time you waste in building a better deck, they are getting stronger with time as well. And that's balance that you will have to do, that what am I going to do, and when is the best time to attack the minions, when is the best time to attack the boss, or do I still concentrate on building a better deck. In this way, you'll be fighting the boss. Once you bring them down to 0 health, you have completed the mission. Then you can read the story, continue what happens next, and then get to select branching story, select the next boss. The branching story, why it says branching, is kind of superficial, because even though there are 6 bosses in the whole story, you will be playing 3 of them, and then the branching is that after defeating each of the boss, you will get option. Now you can defeat boss A or boss B, and whatever you select after that, again you will get the option either now boss C or boss D, and then the story will finish. That adds to a little bit replayability, but the problem about with this replayability is that the story is going to remain nearly the same, because whichever boss you fight, the story remains the same. Some flavor text is going to change based on which boss you selected to fight out, and that's the majority of things. And that's why I said the story is just a thin beer, and these branches are just a way of saying instead of six bosses, we have two games of three boss each, and you can mix and match that in a campaign which bosses you fight through. Now, one more thing that you will be doing once you go from boss to boss is once you have completed a boss fight, there are some upgrades that are going to be awarded to you as well. Because the initial bosses are going to be easy, but once you defeat them, then comes the second boss, which is going to be more harder than the previous one, and the final boss is going to be the hardest one. For that, the game comes with another deck of cards which have the gray border. So play cards normally have white borders. The cards that you purchase have black borders. And these gray cards have been introduced as upgrade cards. What you will be doing at the end of each of the game session is that you will be shuffling these upgrade cards, revealing six of them, and then you will get to pick one card that you want to permanently add in your starting hand. So these do get added at the end of the game. So, but they get added in your starter deck. So the next mission that you will play will always have the new upgraded card already in your deck. Most of these cards are kind of duplicate copies of the cards that are normally available in the market deck, but they have a gray border, which does mean that you get to permanently place them in your starter deck, making your starter deck slightly better. I always like games when they make you powerful along with the boss rather than making you weak because the next boss is equivalent level, and just to make the game harder they made you weaker. I never like that. I prefer make the boss harder but make me feel powerful as well, and that's exactly what this expansion pack did. That it added these cards which can be permanently going to your starter deck and makes you feel better and gives you focus as well. So for example, if somebody picked up a purple card to add to their starter deck, now they already have a focus even before they start the game, that I have purple card in my deck. So next time I want to focus on purple cards so that they can combo off each other. I can do a lot of damage by doing that thing. And that's why this was one of my favorite things from this expansion pack, that these get added. But I have told you all the things that are there in this expansion pack. Of course, the game does come with some counters as well. But again, once you experience different bosses, you will see for which boss they will come into play. As I said, each boss plays slightly differently, and that's the fun mechanisms that you will get to explore while playing with these different boss fights. So if you like Shards of Infinity or deck building games, but would rather play a co-op campaign, then this is a very nice expansion. It will add those six missions plus some additional cards that you get to add permanently to your starter decks, let you feel more powerful, give you a new character. And so in my opinion, this was a very good expansion. Personally, I prefer co-op over competitive games. So to me, that's why this was, as soon as I purchased Shards of Infinity, I purchased this one. The next thing, even though this was not the second expansion, I think this is the third or the fourth expansion for the game, but I purchased it instantly because I knew I would get more replayability out of Shards of Infinity, just because now it has co-op mode. I'll get to replay it while playing the story mode itself. So if this interests you, the boss fights kind of interest you, co-op story modes interest you, then this is a good expansion to have. Hopefully this was useful for you, and if you found it useful, then don't forget to subscribe and like. That's it for me. Happy gaming.